We drew our initial inspiration from Greece and the Greek people on the streets. There were banners round the Acropolis saying, "Europe, rise up in resistance," and that's what spurred us on. Now, it's been said such protests would never happen here. Well, I went to university in 1968, and I have to say we already have a student movement as big as 1968, and we've barely started. It is happening here, it's only a beginning. This was clear to us when overnight thousands in August signed Tony Benn's founding statement. Well, now the phony war is over. We've entered a new phase, and this assembly, this magnificent assembly of 1,000, signals the beginning of the end, not just of the cuts programme, but possibly of the Condem government. The demonstrations, particularly after the occupation of Millbank, have shown new determination, not just by university, but also by FE College and school students. The Met Commissioner talks of a new era of civil unrest. Well, he hasn't seen anything yet. Michael Gove, that's the minister who looks like a prawn, was most piqued that his reactionary pronouncements for schools were wiped off the news by student protests. He blustered to Sky News that government shouldn't change its policy as a result of street demonstrations, because they've been voted for on the basis of their election promises. So what were these promises? Gove said on the 2nd of March, we won't scrap the EMA, that's the £30 a week for FE students in need, and they're scrapping it. And then we have Nick Pledge and Vince Fable, who said they wouldn't vote to increase fees. Well, in the face of such duplicity, our response has to be both militant and audacious. Up to and including civil disobedience, until they drop their cuts programme or we drive them from office. And let's not forget, that's what we did with Heath. We forced a U-turn and drove him from office, and we did it with Thatcher over the poll tax. They have no mandate. And another point about who's voted for who, many of the people in the streets last week, or this week, didn't even have a vote, but their future was being thrown away. Well, on Newsnight, Jeremy Paxman, I must make reference to this, bemoaned the fact that Claire Solomon wouldn't answer his question. Claire, now what a brilliant response this is under pressure. Claire said, but Jeremy, you aren't asking the right question. The question they're interested in is how to bolster a failed, exploitative and discredited system. The question we are interested in is how we can replace it with a better world. In their kettle last Wednesday, the police created a whole new generation of activists, committed to a new level of engagement and committed to direct action. The police may contain students in Whitehall once, just as they did with the poll tax and also with a demonstration at the end of the miners' strike in 1985. But we'll relearn the lessons, and they won't be able to contain the pensioners, the sacked civil servants, the tenants, the women, the black people, the disabled activists, the parents or the unemployed who follow through in the students' wake. They will never kettle the whole people, and if we do, if they try to, we'll be there to direct the steam. And they'll need more than a royal wedding and a few happiness surveys to keep us in line. Now, it shouldn't just be the students walking out when the tuition fees bill has its second reading. Other trades unionists, particularly lecturers and college workers, should walk out too. The universities should be closed on that day. Secondary picketing can end up with unions in court. And I was a General Secretary, I understand the problem, but there's nothing to stop pensioners and student auxiliaries picketing people out. Think about it. We want to see the ordinary people of Britain following the students' example in a week of action, which is referred to here in the documents you've got, in February as a build-up to the massive TUC demonstration on the 26th of March. The coalition of resistance is at a point of transition from a pressure group to a mass movement. If you look at the programme, and I'm meant to introduce a bit of this, you will see a declaration that attempts to achieve the widest level of unity and struggle for that purpose. That's the conference declaration. It should be read with the founding statement in mind, which is also in the document. It won't contain everything everyone wants, but the template to measure this movement is its ability to mobilise hundreds of thousands of people, not programmatic elegance. The description of CORE under the section What is CORE and What Does It Do, which has been on the website for some time, describes the sort of broad non-sectarian resistance we're trying to build, with support in every area, from the Friends of Puddletown Library near Dorchester to the most battle-hardened RMT branch. We've dozens of local groups and national campaigns affiliated. We have allied from the start with Barrack, and I'd like you to give a big hand to the black activists rising against the cuts. The MPs in the Labour Representation Committee, particularly John MacDonald and Jeremy Corbyn, the Green Party have been wonderful, and other socialist groups, unfortunately, too many of them to mention until we get some more unity. We want to include or work with others, such as the People's Charter, with whom we have an accord, the National Campaign Against Fees and Cuts, who we've been working with this week, the Right to Work campaign, we've got joint protocols, National Shop Stewards Network, and also anti-fascist and anti-war campaigns. Because actually, unemployment is the cesspit in which the mosquitoes of racism breed. And the link between the war and spending, I think you can make. So the task for today is to get out of our separate silos, leave our sectarian baggage at the door, and work out how we can raise a whirlwind of activity to stop the cuts and/or bring this government down. One sentence. Finally, I'd just like to apologise to those who received many invitations to this conference. We use lots of different contact lists, often quite indiscriminately. One unhappy person returned my flyer with the message bollocks, followed by a question mark and an exclamation mark. I was able to reassure him that they want to cut those as well. As has been confirmed by the Tory party Vice Chairman Howard, soon to be Lord Sterilise the Poor Flight. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much.